Welcome to this edition of Successful Women here on the stations of Starcom Network. I am Crystal J. Paul, and we have sharing with us today none other than theater actress and opera singer. You may have been hearing a lot about her, Shantal Martin. Welcome, Shantal.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh my word. Now, anybody who has been following you will see that yes, you've been about hair and skin and makeup. And now you've gone even more so into opera singing. Now, you have to tell us why this love for opera?
So I've been singing since I was around 8 years old, and I've been classically trained since I'd say maybe like 14, 15. And I just can't really sing anything else. So
All right, interesting. Now, tell us, in this island of reggae and dancehall and calypso and soca, how do you remain true to your brand and opera?
so I first found opera, I should say, from listening through my granny's like fence to her neighbor. Her neighbor used to listen to a lot of opera CDs when I was a wee like 3 year old, 4 year old around that age. And then by time I was around eight, I had enough wherewithal to make myself known to her. So I'd sit with her in her gallery or in her living room and listen through some old CDs with her. So that's probably one of the first genres of music that would have taken over my life. So I've never been without it. So any genres that come after that just come below that naturally. So it's what I listen to on a regular in terms of classical music and as well as musical theater. Those are my go-to genres. And as I grew up, obviously I was exposed to more Caribbean music, which I equally love, but I don't respond to as well vocally. So it's not really a challenge for me to stay true to classical and musical theater.
Oh, wow. So tell us in terms of maintaining your identity, because there's so many women who struggle with who they are and keeping their identity regardless of their environment. How do you stay true to who you are? I mean, when you go on Chantal Astra Martin on Instagram, you're authentically you. How would you advise women on remaining in that identity?
I think honestly, theater helps because you have to show up as yourself first and then you delve into your character after. And a very important part of theater and acting in general is bringing your perspective. And so I try really hard to keep my perspective about most things and keep true to myself. I also have a very strong family and friend group that never let me forget who I am and are always there to, remind me of the places where I've come from and the things that I enjoy, and they really tie me down, I should say. And I never really thought about it much until I was studying overseas in New York. And that's when I was very, very grateful for just the way we're brought up here in the Caribbean, because I feel like I always grew up having a very strong sense of self and a strong sense of discipline. I'm Catholic as well, so I've always been a bit of a church girl. So I have just a strong sense of self from all those things. And when I really had to put it to the test, I was very pleased to know that I could withstand a lot of chatter and temptations and distractions just by leaning on my like Caribbeanness, my Bajanness, my Catholicness. I was very lucky to have that.
So my final question for you, Chantal. You've been branching out and doing some things that are maybe a little out of your comfort zone. As you said at the beginning of the year, you made a resolution to be on more stages. How has that journey been for you? And how would you advise women on just stepping out in faith and doing things to become who they need to be?
I think it's just important that you do things that you enjoy. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a stage, but something that you feel like you have to give your all to, something that you can dedicate and have a purpose for. I think that's very important. It like carries you through the day, especially with our mundane days. If you have like a regular job or something is going on at home or in your personal life, it just feels good to have something to tunnel vision on sometimes. Doesn't have to be all the time, but something you can put some focus on and prove to yourself that if you work hard then things are attainable. It feels like a tangible reward. So for myself, I've always been on stages. I grew up performing as a child and into my entire life. But obviously, for classical music, we don't have as much stage time here. So it was more a case of I want to share something that I'm passionate about. So I had a point of view and I had a reason to. And so I made the opportunity as tangible as I possibly could.
You opened the opportunity for yourself. I remember you saying something to that effect. You created your own stage. Chantal Martin, thank you very much for sharing with us for successful women, and we wish you continued success.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate being added to this lineup.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm Krista J. Paul, and that's it for today's Successful Women. Take care.